Do you know what your grandmother used to warm on the stove every single night before bed? Not coffee, not tea from a paper box with a string hanging off it. Something slower than that. Something that took its time, the way good things usually do. Maybe you don't remember the name of it anymore. Maybe you only remember the smell drifting through the house in that last quiet hour before everyone went to sleep. Maybe you remember the way she held the cup with both hands, like it mattered, like it wasn't just a drink to her, like it was closer to a habit she trusted more than she trusted most things. You felt something tonight too, didn't you? Not pain exactly. Something quieter than pain. That tiredness that sits behind your eyes even after 8 hours of sleep that didn't actually rest you. The way you sat down on the couch and your knees told you about it before you'd even noticed you were tired. The way dinner is still sitting in your stomach 2 hours later. Heavy, unwilling to settle, no matter how still you sit. You've been told this is just what happens. You've been told it's stress, it's age, it's nothing to worry about yet. You've been told to wait and see. To come back in 6 months if it gets worse, and a call if it doesn't. You've gotten used to nodding along, even when none of it quite explains what you're actually feeling. I want you to notice something with me tonight. Somewhere between your grandmother's kitchen and yours, something small got lost along the way. Not a big ceremony, not anything anyone ever wrote a book about or charged money to teach. Just one quiet habit, repeated every single night in almost every home on the street, without anyone making a fuss over it. We stopped warming the root before bed. I don't think that's a small loss, even though it looks small from the outside. I think it's a big one, dressed up in something simple, so we'd stop noticing it was even gone. And tonight, I want to hand it back to you, the way it was handed to me. The old ones paid attention to the evening hours in a way most of us have forgotten how to do anymore. They notice the mind gets loud right when it's supposed to be going quiet. You lie down, and that's exactly when the thoughts decide to show up uninvited. The conversation you should have handled differently, the thing you forgot to do, the worry that waited patiently all day just to find you the moment the lights went off. The old ones didn't have a clinical word for that. They just called it a busy mind that needed help settling down for the night. They noticed the heart carries a kind of weight at night that it doesn't carry during the busy hours of the day. Not the organ itself. The feeling underneath it, the one most of us don't have a good name for. Grief, worry, the small ordinary griefs of an ordinary day. All of it seems to land heaviest right when a person is finally still enough to actually feel it. They notice the stomach holds on to the evening meal longer than it should. Food sits there. The body works on it slowly, patiently, and that slow, heavy work can keep a person from real rest, tossing and turning instead of sinking down into the kind of sleep the body is actually asking for. And they notice the joints. A long day of bending, lifting, walking, carrying, all of it settles into the joints by evening, stiff and complaining, right at the exact moment a person finally wants to sit still and isn't rewarded for it with any comfort at all. The old ones didn't split all of this into a dozen separate problems with a dozen separate names, the way it gets split today into appointments and specialists and waiting rooms. They didn't see a digestive issue here, and a sleep issue there, and a joint issue somewhere else entirely. They saw one tired body, one body that had carried a whole day on its back and now needed something gentle to help it set that day down before sleep could finally do its real work on a person. So they looked to what the land had already given them without asking for anything back. A root dug up and cleaned by hand, sometimes bark instead, peeled carefully and dried slowly and saved for exactly this purpose and no other. Something warming on the tongue, something a little bitter, the kind of bitter that wakes the senses up rather than dulling them down. Something that had been passed from hand to hand, from mother to daughter, for longer than anyone in the family could trace back with any certainty. It didn't need a name written down anywhere because it lived in the doing of it, not in a book. They didn't have a study to point to when someone doubted them. They didn't need one. They watched it work the same way, quietly, night after night, for more generations than anyone ever bothered to count or write down. Nobody sat the family down and explained the reasoning behind it. Nobody needed to. A grandmother would simply set the pot on the stove around the same time every evening, the way she'd done it for 40 years, and the children would learn it the same way they learned everything that mattered. Not by being told, but by watching it happen, again and again, until it became part of them, too. Here is what they did. And here is what I still do, most nights, in my own kitchen, with my own 2 hands, the way it was shown to me. A root, or warming, a little bitter on the tongue, grated fine, or ground down if it's already dried. Steep slow in water just off the boil, never rushed, never microwaved in a hurry because someone's running late for bed. Sometimes bark instead of root, simmered a little longer to coax out everything it's carrying inside it. A little honey stirred in at the end, if you like your evenings a touch sweeter. A twist of something citrus, if it happens to be on hand and you want a little brightness against the bitterness. That's the whole of it. No measuring spoons required, no precise recipe card tucked in a drawer somewhere. Every grandmother who made this just knew how much by feel, the same way you know how much salt belongs in something you've made 100 times without thinking twice about it. Here's what the old ones believed about it, passed down the same way the practice itself was passed down. The warmth and the bitterness, working together, were thought to clear out the heaviness that builds up in the body over the course of a long day. The stagnant feeling, the stuck feeling, the thing that just sits there inside a person if nothing comes along to move it on its way before sleep arrives. And when that heaviness starts to clear, the old ones believed something else could happen, quietly, underneath everything else. The blood could settle into a slower, easier rhythm. The breath could come deeper, less caught up high in the chest where worry likes to live. And whatever a person was carrying that day, worry, grief, the small invisible weights nobody else can see from the outside, that too could finally be set down for a few hours. That's the whole idea, really, as simple as it sounds when I say it out loud like this. Not a cure for any one named thing. Just help, gentle and steady, and asking nothing in return, getting the body to a place where real rest becomes possible again, the way it's supposed to be. That's all the old ones ever claimed for it, and it's all I'll ever claim for it either. I want to tell you plainly what this was turned to for over all those years, because I respect you far too much to oversell it to you now. It was turned to for steady energy through the day, not the kind that spikes hard in the morning and drops you flat on the floor by 3 in the afternoon, but the kind that holds you evenly, from the moment you wake until the evening cup comes around again to close the day out properly. It was turned to for a busy, tired mind, for the fog that settles in after too many nights of thin, broken sleep, when thoughts feel slow to catch and slower still to let go of. It was turned to for a heavy heart at night, for easing that restless, unsettled feeling that shows up right when the house finally goes quiet and there's nothing left around to distract a person from it. It was turned to for an unsettled stomach after the evening meal, helping the body work patiently through what the day's food left behind, instead of fighting it all night long until morning. It was turned to for aching joints, the same simple way that warmth itself has been turned to for aching joints since long before anyone bottled a thing and put a price tag on it for the first time. It was turned to for the body's own defenses, especially through the cold months, when a person needs every bit of steadiness they can hold on to. And it was turned to for the skin, for something like glow, something like give, held on to a little longer, even as the years keep moving forward the way they do. Some elders even said it kept the hands looking like they belonged to someone younger, long after the rest of the body had moved on without them. I want to say this next part clearly, because it matters to me more than almost anything else I'll tell you tonight. This is not medicine. It does not replace your doctor, and I would never once tell you that it does. This is something passed down from a time before pills came in bottles with childproof caps, when people had no real choice but to learn their own bodies, slowly, patiently, carefully, because no one else was ever going to do that learning on their behalf. I'm not asking you to take my word for any of this, not even a little. I'm asking you to try it yourself, just for a few nights in a row, and pay close attention. Notice if your mind settles a little faster once the lights go off for the night. Notice if your knees complain a little less by the time Thursday rolls around. Notice if you wake up before your alarm instead of being dragged out of sleep by it. That is all I will ever ask of you. Just notice quietly the way the old ones did, without rushing to decide anything too soon. So if you want to try this tonight, here is all there really is to it. A warming root, or a piece of bark if that's what you can find more easily where you are. Steep slow in hot water, given the time it needs. A little honey stirred in, if you like your evenings sweet. That's the whole practice, start to finish. No ceremony required of you. No secret ingredient I'm holding back to tell you about in a part 2. It won't fix everything wrong in your life. It was never built to carry that much weight, and I won't stand here and pretend otherwise to you. but it might hand your body back one small thing it's been missing for longer than you realized. One quiet evening habit, instead of one more hour spent scrolling past midnight, wondering all over again why sleep won't come easy tonight either. Next time, I want to show you what the elders turned to when the cold came on early and stayed too long. What kept a whole body steady through a hard season, not just through one single night at a time. Stay close, so you don't miss that one when it comes. And if what I shared with you tonight sat with you the way it sat with me, the very first time someone shared it with me, I hope you'll stay a little while longer. There's more I want to pass along to you whenever you're ready to receive it. What the land gave freely, we are only now learning to receive again.